Hello, today's Bible study comes from Matthew chapter 27, verses 27 through 31, and it reads as follows. Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus in the praetorium and gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him, and then twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand. Then they knelt in front of him and mocked him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they said. They spit on him and took the staff and struck him on the head again and again. After they mocked him, they took off the robe and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him away to crucify him. This is just the brutality and ignorance of man, showing its ugly head. Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They went and got the whole crew. And they decided they were going to take off his clothes. They were going to put him in something to add mockery to the title he was given. So they gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him. They took all his clothes down, put a robe on him, and they twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. Not only was this thorn supposed to be a crown, since they were calling him the King of the Jews and all the things that the soldiers and the governor didn't like, but this thorn was a punishment from them. It was to dig into his skin. It was to cause him pain and inflict pain continually on him. They put a staff in his right hand to be a mockery of acting like he was leading someone when all along he had been leading, and he is still the King of Kings, and they had no clue. But then they got spiteful ignorance, and they knelt down in front of him and mocked him again. "Hail, King of the Jews." So they put him in what they thought was the attire of the King of the Jews, and they said that to him. But then they got even more indignant, and my grandmother used to say the worst thing you can do to a person is to spit on them. And what did they do? They spit on him, and then they took the staff and they struck him on the head again and again. Jesus was suffering right then and there. They were putting it on him, spitting on him. They put this crown of thorns on him, and then they hit him in the head, and they were calling him out of his name, not because that title isn't true, but they were calling him out of his name to be disrespectful and sarcastic to who does he think he is in their mind. After they had mocked him, and it says they mocked him, they took off the robe and put his clothes on him, and then they let him to be crucified. So even in the starting of it, man was just a wicked, ignorant beast who didn't understand what love was and how love was given and how a servant did great work for this world, and we went after him. We didn't go after the bad. We didn't go after the instigating chief priests. We didn't go after these liars that were definitely false prophets. We went after the truth. We went after the love. We went after the example. We went after the one that came to show us how to be more like God. And yes, I know he was supposed to be crucified. That was what the Lord had planned. But it still shows you how bad we are. It still shows you that we need him even more, because even with him here, man could not get it together. It shows that we need to turn to him even more, because we didn't go there when he was here, and all he showed us was love. Even when he cast the demons out into the pigs, we told him to leave because the pigs drowned themselves. But we never thought about him sparing those men and pulling devils and demons out of them. We didn't see him. And as these soldiers mocked Jesus and prepared him, they were already doing things to him that were not acceptable for who he is and was and still continues to be, a loving Savior. Amen.